Hey guys, my name is Nate Carr.
And I'm Dustin McCaffrey, and we're the founders of Loyal.
Today we're talking about punch cards, if they're relevant still in 2019, or if there's a better alternative.
So first of all, for me, I feel like it's important to get a perspective from the customer side of things, which for us, I feel like it's pretty easy because we've been customers for all sorts of digital programs.
I am a loyalty customer. That's who I am. I have like 6 of these apps.
Right, well, which I feel like everybody has been at different points. Actually, you had a funny story about your wife that I think is relevant to this conversation if you want to share.
Yes. So I'm cleaning out my wife's car. It's been 6 months. And so naturally I'm going all in, and I'm kind of scared to do this because sometimes my glove department gets crazy. And so I finish with the car, I go to the glove department, and I kid you not, I pull out 9 loyalty punch cards, which is fine. I mean, I have 9 loyalty punch cards too in my car.
Then you assume like some of them got lost somewhere else too.
Yeah. Well, you never know where they go or like what's going on with them. You just know they're somewhere in your car, whether it's the cup holder, the glove department, whatever it's called. Is it a glove department?
Glove compartment.
Glove compartment. So I open up this glove compartment and I see another loyalty card, punch card, another punch card, another punch card, and I don't think it's odd. I think most people have this happen. But I pull out 4 or 5 from this local soda shop that my wife goes to, and then I pull out 4 more. But here's why it's actually crazy. And my wife will see this, but I've already talked to her about it. Here's why it's crazy. Every single one was filled up 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times.
Like she could have had a ton of
She had 9 or so loyalty punch cards to this local soda shop where if she fills it up to 10, she gets a free soda, and she filled every single one up to 6 or 7.
See, that's where I feel like there's a myth at that point where as a business owner, I might be thinking, well, that's the best case scenario. Like she's not getting the things and she's still coming often. But I think really like if you shift that perspective, it's like she's not coming in order to fill up a car. Like that loyalty program is most likely not bringing her in more often.
Yeah.
It's just her nature. She's just like, yeah, why not get a
She
punch
doesn't
card?
even care.
She's too nice to say no to the punch card.
So when she's at the drive-thru and she knows she has a punch card to fill up to maybe get to 8, and they say, hey, you're part of our loyalty program, she knows that the quicker action is going to just accept another card, put it on that card. It's quicker to do that than reach into your glove department. With millennials, I myself, you're a millennial. We're all millennials, basically. That's what we are. We're looking for speed. And so when I gotta open up my glove compartment, if I gotta open up my glove compartment, pull out a card, and like I'd rather just have them give me another one because I really don't care in the first place. You know, I already have 9 of these. I subconsciously know I have 9 of them, and it's just a lost story. And granted, a lot of people may think, yeah, but she's not the target market. You know, because she's already coming a lot. But I don't think this is different for the random guy, you know.
Well, so I don't think I've ever had 9 punch cards, but I think for me, like I've had times where I have to the same place, literally in my wallet, which isn't a very big wallet. I have like 2 or 3 to the same place. And like if I'm smart, I can just say like, hey, can you put these all together? And like maybe they'll do it. But then like typically I'll lose that or I'll clean it out of my wallet and I'm not going for it. It's like if it's a place I really frequent already.
Yeah.
And I think like that's important. I don't think that's necessarily just punch cards. Like I think there's a lot of potential loyalty programs that you can have that don't necessarily drive customers to actually come back. It's just like it's another step.
Because what's the best case scenario? You have some guy who takes a month or 2 to finally fill out his punch card, and then he gets a free meal, a free shirt, free drink, whatever it is.
I mean, well, there's certain places like if I'm Starbucks, like it's something that might make sense. If I have people who are coming pretty regularly, and then I say, oh, I'm already at 8, like I'm going to come in one more time. You might get an extra time or an extra 2 times coming in.
That's true. However, Starbucks is digital. So then everything changes when you go digital, because with these ones.
But for a small shop, like if I'm a small coffee shop, there might be a use case where I feel like a punch card is the only solution that makes me feel independent, right? Like all I have to do is purchase like a piece of paper.
It's easy.
And so it's easy and I make the rules, right? And so I think that's why people end up doing this, because it's not that expensive. It's easy. But I think even if it's easy and expensive and it's not driving many results, like why do
Yeah, there's a lot of easy, inexpensive things we can do that aren't going to drive results, you know?
Right.
And so I think, let's talk about, if you are that company who has punch cards, how do you make them work? What's your go-to to make these punch cards actually work for you?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Like I'm wondering what scenarios. Well, here's another thing. I don't know that people in general understand how effective punch cards are or how ineffective they are because they're impossible to track.
No data.
I think the only data that you can get is in your own system when you say gave one free for this punch card. But what you don't know is how many people, like you're not tracking how many people have unfilled punch cards and how many people are actually driven back because of that incentive, right? Like all you get is how many people fulfilled it. I think in terms of numbers, which I think are like really important for any business owner to understand their full numbers and how any marketing channel, which this really is like a marketing channel, a channel to drive lifetime value in a customer. And I feel like not having much data on that when we're living in a world of technology, like you should at least have a digital punch card.
Yeah.
Right? Like worst case scenario.
Yeah, for sure. I actually thought it was really interesting. There was a business owner who I was speaking with on Reddit, and he said that the only way to get his customers to use this, because only 15 to 20% were, which is industry standard, was he would have to cut employee shifts for those employees who weren't telling the customer to join that loyalty program. So the results worked, but I mean, he had to be he had to be a wartime business owner, right?
And even then, I mean, what did he say what his criteria are really for having it work? Does that just mean like a lot of people ended up
it just meant
punch card?
All it meant was more people were using it. More people were using that punch card. And
so what he doesn't know still is how successful that is when they're using it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think this is the problem. This is the root of the problem, is that people are like business owners are measuring their like success of these programs by saying how many people are using it. But what they don't know still is how much revenue is this driving?
Is coming in,
right? Like,
because what matters, the revenue matters.
It doesn't matter if 100% of my customers are doing that if it's not doing anything for them, right?
Because it's a loyalty program. So if you really dig deep into that word, it means we got to increase loyalty with this loyalty program.
Which lifetime value. You're looking for more visits into your shop.
Yeah.
Which I don't think is necessarily happening, even if all your customers are using it.
And I think for a lot of people watching this video, they're going to think, we know what you're saying is true. I can't track this. It does cost me a small monthly fee to get new cards over and over again. I hate that people are not using them and have 9 cards not filled up. I hate that. What do you want me to do? What is there to do about it?
What alternatives are there?
Yeah, what alternatives are there? So, and I don't like to be that guy who's like, here's the problem, no solution. So, obviously, there's a problem with the solution. So,
I think that there's a lot of again, like quote unquote solutions out there. Most of those to me feel like they're driven by companies who are promising a lot and are very sales driven. So like Reddit, as we've like explored on Reddit, we've been asking questions on Reddit. Lots of people have been saying, I had a salesperson come in, they shoved the contract down my throat. Everybody's really mad. You know, these big companies
of digital loyalty
programs. And I think that there's a lot of stigma around digital loyalty programs now that is super negative. And that's why people are saying, these digital programs aren't working for me. I've wasted $15,000. I'm going back to punch cards.
Yeah, which I understand what they're saying. I mean, we had a guy talking to us yesterday who said, I got to pay $15,000 a year for my digital loyalty program, you know?
Yeah, for 5 locations, right?
And so we're saying, and we agree with them. And it's crazy, and we're not biased. I mean, it's what we do. We do this stuff. And there are stuff wrong. I mean, it's more expensive. So what I'm thinking is those companies, those small businesses who are in limbo, where they have punch cards, but they're making steps because they know they're not really doing the trick. They know that they need to increase customer loyalty and experience, and so they think, I gotta go to a digital loyalty program, but I don't have an extra $15,000 a year in revenue to just blow on a crappy salesman shoving contracts down my throat.
Mm-hmm.
So then these companies are kind of like, where am I at? I got 3 to 5 locations, but I can't afford to go past punch cards. I need to go somewhere else.
Which I understand that concept. I think it's the same for a lot. So like in the music industry, you have like artists who are going to like indie labels to not have this big company on their backs. You have the same thing with authors who are self-publishing.
Yeah.
I think punch cards at this stage are that in the retail and restaurant and services industries, where it's like probably it's not necessarily a good option. It sounds like a bad option, but there's no other option out there really, right? Like it feels like, and maybe viewers will say, hey, here are some other options that we really like. I think there's a lot of options out there. Most of them are expensive, sales-driven, clunky, hard integration when you go to the digital route.
Yeah, well, and aside from all the clunkiness of it, it's just too expensive. So it's not as if they're looking at this as a business decision, what can I do? I mean, they simply can't afford it when you're that small business.
Right.
Now, obviously, a lot of these sales guys come into your store and they say, hey, it's only this, and then they kind of work the price down a little bit because they're begging to just get the contract signed, you know? And so that's why most of these people are like, I'm canceling in 3 months and canceling in 6 months and canceling next month because they have that contract.
Some people are a month into a 12-month contract and they're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, or and I won't name names, but they totally download, or they not download, but they totally kind of bite, they sign the contract, the hardware comes, and then the hardware breaks.
Right.
So not only are you training your employees how to use the hardware that is now broken, now you're saying, how can we implement this digital loyalty program without the hardware?
Which again, I mean, that's what seems like a pro for punch cards. Suddenly it's like
no hardware.
No anything digital, no technology, right? It's just like print your little card.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think like it does sound like there's incentive to having a no technology solution that like you can implement in 5 minutes, printing out your punch cards.
Yeah. And it's cheaper. It's
cheap. You don't really have to do like a lot of training for your employees. Like I see the perceived benefits of that. I just think from a customer perspective and from what I would think is an enlightened business perspective, for almost any business, I don't see real results coming from punch cards.
Yeah.
That to me is the bottom line. I feel like there needs to be the kind of an in-between for small and medium-sized businesses.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I don't think they don't work. I think they do work, but they don't work well.
Mm-hmm.
You know. So I have a lot of conversations where people are like, they totally work. They did this and this and this for me. And I'm like, if you put an employee in a chicken suit outside of your restaurant and beg people to come to their store, it's gonna work, but it's not gonna work well.
That's our new business. We're just putting people in chicken suits.
Exactly.
Pitching you on it right now.
So, yeah, exactly. I don't think it's about it then not working. It's about there being a different solution, a better solution, and one that's affordable. We're going to have a business owner in here in the next couple of days. And he basically wants to know what he should do. Punch cards, digital loyalty program. Obviously, we're biased, but every situation is different. So, what are we going to tell him?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting to me is in asking him questions of does he understand his numbers? What has he tried in the past? To me, like those are things that are really important in analyzing your business and figuring out what's a solution that's actually working for you.
Yeah. And there's no shame in starting with punch cards. A lot of people think they don't work, which I disagree with. I think they do work. They just might to an extent. So if you're a mom and pop shop locally, start with punch cards. See how they work. See what they're doing, and do your best to track data and solve those problems.
And experimenting, I think, is the most important thing, which is what gets difficult about the big digital loyalty programs where the experiment ends up being 12 months of a contract.
Experiment that you can't experiment.
Yeah, there's not a lot of freedom to try different systems. You're getting shipped all this stuff. They're coming monthly to install new things.
You got a $300 installation fee and a big fat piece of hardware here that you're kind of committed to.
The other thing that's hard about experimenting with loyalty is that every time you change it, I mean, let's say I had 9 punches on my punch card and they're like, all right, now like we're actually going to try this digital system. Every time you change, that's kind of difficult.
For the customer.
For the customer. Yeah, for the customer. And for the business.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult to seem too wishy-washy.
Employee training and all that.
There's a lot that goes into that. So I see the difficulty in wanting to find something that works and sticking with it as well.
True. So I mean, with the digital loyalty program, you do have to commit year by year, basically. Some maybe month by month.
Most of the time, yeah, it seems like it's longer contracts, but
because they have to be. If you're a digital loyalty program business, I mean, you can't just be giving hardware away.
Well, I think it's the hardware. I think if you're paying salespeople, there needs to be enough of a margin that's locked in to be able to pay a salesperson for that sale. That's worth it, right? Because every sale is difficult.
Yeah.
And so I think, there's like inherent problems in the industry that seem pretty difficult to overcome.
But if you are McDonald's or Chick-fil-A who have these digital loyalty programs,
you're like your own personal app.
Your own personal app, which is different, but they totally work. So there's no question, does a digital loyalty program work? Yes, it works. And I think it works 100% better than punch cards. I think most people think that, but there is that I can't switch.
There's an expense barrier, and then there's like a commitment barrier. And I think, I mean, you're not going to have an app like McDonald's unless you are McDonald's, right? They're spending most likely millions of dollars on perfecting the system.
And they're getting a return. Otherwise, they wouldn't be doing it. So
for sure.
They totally work. However, McDonald's app, I don't know. You are a developer, obviously. $60,000, $150,000 to develop that.
Well, I mean, just in development time, you're in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But their business is tweaking and perfecting, like, how do I get people to convert more into the deals? And there's like a lot of science that goes behind it, that McDonald's is kind of hoarding this data because their business is, how do I get more people to come to us instead of whoever. Right?
And that is McDonald's. Let's talk those companies who will build you an app. You go to them and you say, I want my own personal app. Let's talk that for a second. How much is that going to cost?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult most of those companies aren't going to release a number. That's going to be kind of an enterprise level software that they're selling you. It's hard to know. I mean, I think it can be anywhere from, in the hundreds per month per location.
What about cheapest no matter what?
I mean, that's what I think is cheapest. In terms of like having your own app, I think it's probably in the hundreds to low thousands
a month
cost.
So there isn't, but what about
maybe somebody could tell us better. Like I haven't done it myself, and I'd have to go through that process with a company. But I think that's more like what it's.
What about an upfront cost? Do any of them do upfront costs? Like
almost all. I mean, even things like if you look at Belly or 5 Stars, all of these have like some sort of installation fee on top of having a monthly fee and a contract that you lock into. So I think normally you're going to have some sort of setup installation fee of some kind, but it's not crazy. Like for those programs, it's like $100 or $150 maybe per location up front. For the custom apps, there's some sort of integration fee up front.
And then it's month to month, you're saying. It is.
And then I think, I mean, that's something I know less about. But.
Well, from my perspective as the customer, I really do like Chick-fil-A's app, and I do have McDonald's app.
My favorite thing with those apps is when I get a notification that says 3 times points this weekend. Like that's what really, as a customer, that's what incentivizes me.
Yeah. When Chick-fil-A does 2 times or 3 times points with Cafe Rio, when they do that, my first thought is, I'm about to receive a text from my wife saying, we're going to Cafe Rio tonight. And my second is, so is everybody else in the city, so it's going to be the longest line ever. So that's money, I would say. That's great, but that is hundreds of thousands.
I think there's benefit to, as soon as you move away from digital punch cards, the second you move away from like paper punch cards and you move into digital punch cards even, you have the ability to have some of those features of being able to say, hey, this weekend, double punch, things like that.
Yes.
It doesn't feel quite as effective, but there's still incentive there. When you're paper, you would also have to accompany that with maybe an email, something to be able to blast out to all your customers, because there's no way to notify this happening. And I think some people will do Tuesdays or double punch day, but like having.
But then you're committing forever.
Well, and I think it's less effective if I know any Tuesday I can go in and that happens. Being able to say, hey, it's President's Day weekend, like we're doing 3 times points, I'm going. Right?
Yeah. But I will say, with those custom apps, like I said, I have McDonald's, I have Chick-fil-A. but I am stingy with those apps.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to download Dairy Queen's app because my wife sees a deal and you have to get the app, Nate. And I'll download Dairy Queen's app
And then you do it.
and then I'm deleting
Yeah.
it because I'm not going to go back 10 times. I know I'm not going to Dairy Queen 10 times, so I'm not going to keep that up on my phone.
Right. And you don't want a whole folder of like digital
Yeah,
loyalty apps.
I'm not going to, and I don't think anybody will, and I don't think anybody does. You know,
Right.
I do know some people have a folder with like 6 or 7 or 8.
That's me. So
Yeah.
I do that because I have like a certain number of places that it's worth it. It's
You do
worth like
like
the cons of having a bunch of apps
Yeah,
and getting a bunch of notifications.
yeah, which I understand, but I mean, imagine if everybody locally here had these apps. I mean, I'm going to pick and choose.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. You're only gonna.
So
there's a certain amount of billboard space that everybody has, kind of.
I mean, it's a problem, but the benefits outweigh the disadvantages, I guess, in that state. Bottom line, loyalty programs, they do work. If you're going to use punch cards, they will work to an extent. I think if you can make the jump, you should make the jump to a digital loyalty program if you can afford it. Do your research, find out which one's best for you, and I think the whole goal here, increase customer loyalty and experience, I think you will improve on that goal.
I think also it's really important to put yourself in your customer's shoes. That to me is one of the keys here. Just because something is cheap for you, like the easiest way to implement a loyalty program, doesn't mean that it benefits your customers, and it doesn't mean that you're actually getting results. So I think look at your numbers, figure out a way to track, even if that's just punch cards, figure out a way that you can track that. Even if it's just your employee marking down every punch that they give, or asking people, hey, did you come in specifically to finish out this punch card? That could be interesting. But I think there's ways around it that you can improve that experience, but it's a lot harder to track.
We've talked to thousands of restaurant and retail owners and some in between. This is kind of the feedback we got. This is what they were thinking. Let us know in the comments what you think. Those of you who have implemented punch cards or a digital loyalty program, let us know what's hard. Let us know what we're missing. Let us know your thoughts. Every use case is different.
So thanks for watching. We're going to be doing these about every week, maybe even more often. Hopefully this is helpful for you in growing your business and learning more business practices for your brick and mortar store. We'll see you guys soon.